again, but it's been a bit of a delayed start. There's been an issue with our Eventbrite link, which has meant that some people weren't able to join us at 12:30. That's now been addressed, so we are seeing people join us. If you have just recently joined us in the last few minutes, then welcome. Please use the chat facility to tell us who you are and where you're from. It's lovely to see so many people joining us this week, and some new but familiar faces, but just new to webinars. So thank you for joining us this morning. As I said, we will use the chat facility to answer any questions. So if you do have any queries or any questions, do post them there. We will be looking at wellbeing for volunteers and staff, and we are joined by Stevie McCormick from LiveWell Dorset, who will be running a session. Paul, I wonder if you could share your slide, and then we can just run through the agenda for this morning so everybody is aware of what we're trying to achieve. So the welcome is obviously me. Then we have Stevie McCormack from LiveWell Dorset, who is going to explain the resources and tools and support that are available through LiveWell and other resources to support wellbeing, which is useful just for everybody here today as individuals and members of the public, but may be also useful to pass on to beneficiaries, volunteers and staff. We have a quick update from Elizabeth Hodgson about a grant that's available, well actually 2 grants that are available. So Elizabeth's going to give us an update on that. And then I will be passing over to Paula from DCA, who's going to be talking about volunteer and staff wellbeing. So that's the plan for today. We are recording. The resources and recording and everything will be shared via the website after this webinar, so you should all be able to access the information. I think that's probably enough from me, and I am going to hand over to Stevie from LiveWell Dorset to explain the support and that LiveWell can provide us at this time. Thank you. Over to you, Stevie.
I'm just going to unmute myself and share my screen so you can see my PowerPoint. So. Fab. So that's all there. So my name's Stevie McCormick. I have seen a couple of names in here. You may have attended our 5 Ways pilot, so I do apologise if I go over some of the content. There is new stuff in here though for today as well, for those of you that may have already seen some of that. So I'm Stevie McCormick. I'm a training engagement officer. I have picked up in the chat that some people want to connect offline here, so please do reach out if you do want to connect with me after today. I'm happy for my contact details to be shared. This is an interactive session, so yeah, please feel free to share on the chat, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Just have a pen and notebook ready just to take some notes for any learning that you'll get from this session today. So on this slide here, I just really wanted to check in with everyone to see how you were feeling today. On the top of the slide, it gives instructions on how you can annotate. So if you just describe in one word how you're feeling today, you go up to the view options, and then you click down to annotate, which is circled in red. And then if you click it on the text, the red text, if you could just share that with us, that'd be great. I love that. Oh. So energize, there's some great words here. Calm, feeling great, looking forward to the support on offer, positive, energized, good, okay, uncertain, frazzled out but okay, yeah, demotivated, good. Yeah, so there's a real mix there, happy, fab. So what I just wanted to do with this is just asking how we are. We're all doing it at the moment, and it's so important. And even, you know, after coming out with all the changes, obviously we've all been on lockdown and they're uneasing lockdown a bit. It's just really important that not only do we check in with others, but we check in with ourselves. So I really want you to think about today, you know, if you're feeling energized, you know, hopefully you can take something away from today's session and take action with that. If you're feeling unenergized, maybe take this opportunity today to reflect on how you can re-energize yourself, do a bit of work to restore yourself so you can give a little bit, because I'm conscious that we're all in roles where we're supporting others. So it's really important that first we check in with ourselves to make sure that we're showing up as the best we can be. So thank you all for sharing. I'm just... So it should. My PC's thinking about going on to the next page. Weight of responsibility, yeah, definitely. It certainly feels like things have picked up a bit recently. Right, I'm hoping my there we go. It's just taking its time. So yeah, the agenda today, so yeah, who are we? I'll be briefly going over the COM-B model for making behaviour change, which the LiveWell Dorset service is based on. 5 ways to wellbeing, identifying what these are. LiveWell Dorset resources, our digital Dorset, stress management overview of managing stress, building resilience training, and what's next. So, who are we? We are a free service offered to anyone living in Dorset, and we support people in making changes in becoming more active, losing weight, quitting smoking and drinking less. And most probably you've all heard about, you know, there's been an increase in the amount of alcohol that's been bought and people are drinking a little bit more at home, losing weight. I think people are falling into habits, you know, where we might be eating and snacking a little bit more than we were before. And, you know, finding that our old habits and routines that we had before lockdown have meant that the usual groups that we go to or swimming to be active aren't there anymore. So it's all a little bit up in the air on how we can make sure that these are in place. So LiveWell Dorset do support with these, and also particularly I just want to mention here for anyone that you may know or yourself, if you're a smoker, LiveWell Dorset are offering now support through nicotine replacement therapy, and we are offering additional coaching courses to support people for stop smoking for COVID. And I'll touch on that a little bit more in one of those blog articles that we've got. And then losing weight, we do have the Slimming World and Weight Watch offers, and we are currently working with Slimming World and Weight Watchers to see if there's anything that they can do in order to provide the service virtually to new members wanting to roll and sign up. So watch that space. We are looking to work on that, but ultimately we want to work with individuals to empower them to make changes to live well. You've most probably heard, but I just want to make sure that. So I'm just going to show a video here. just going to show a video here about LiveWell Dorset. I know some of you may have heard of us, but it's just a really good resource if you're working with people. It's accessible on YouTube and it just gives a bit of insight to what we're about. So I'm just going to share that now.
Smoking, drink less or get more active. LiveWell Dorset provides you with free healthy living advice and coaching. Are you weighed down by extra pounds? Shedding your burden is tough. It takes time, focus and the support of others. Together, let's loosen those straps and break free from your bad habits for good. Take steps to manage your weight through healthy food choices and physical activity. Find out if you're eligible for a kickstart at your local weight loss group. Drinking too much too often causes us harm. That extra beer or glass of wine can soon slip into a daily habit. Before we know it, we're regularly drinking above recommended guidelines. Drinking less will do wonders for your health. Stress less, think more clearly, feel energized and sleep better. Smoking, that harmful habit that cripples our health and drains our bank balance. Most smokers want to quit, but that doesn't make unwrapping the comforting habit any easier. Life without cigarettes can look cold and harsh. Don't be daunted. Quitting is the most effective thing you can do for your health. Don't focus on the loss. Focus on the gains. Your savings goal, adding years to your life. Feel and look younger. Switch the words "I'm trying to quit" with the mantra "I am a non-smoker." Make your stop smoke plan with support from our coaches. Sitting still can make us ill. Getting up and out and moving has tremendous benefits to our health. Small steps lead to big change. All too often, we don't get our daily dose of exercise. The less we do, the harder it is. Yet, the more we do, the easier it becomes. Use our activity finder to discover new activities on your doorstep. Meet a happier, healthier you through our free advice and coaching. Take control of your healthy living. Call us on free phone 0800 840.
So that's great. So the behaviour change model that I was talking about before, the COM-B model, which the LiveWell Dorset service is based on, we look at capability, motivation, opportunity in order to make a behaviour change. And I think really why I wanted to touch on this today is, you know, there's always something in our lives that we might want to change or look at, and particularly at the moment, if we are feeling unmotivated and there's a change that we want to make, this is a really good framework which we can use in our own lives to see about how we can go about making those changes. So on this example here, in terms of capability, if we were looking at somebody that maybe was snacking a little bit more than usual because they're at home and there's been a real mix in their routine, maybe not having the time to create the dinners and that as they did in their normal schedule, it's just looking about the capability for that. So have you got access to the foods that you want to at the moment? Are you able to look online for new recipes? So just looking at like what you've got in your own capability to make that change. And then motivation, so really uncovering what's the motivating factor for you wanting to make that change. Is it because you're feeling a little bit more sluggish, because you're not eating what you normally would eat in your routine, and you're wanting to feel a little bit better? So when we get that motivating factor, it's like the why. And the why is really important to go back to when we're making change, to think, why am I doing this? And bring yourself back to that when you're making those changes, to think, yes, this is what I want to do. And then the opportunity. So looking at the opportunity maybe in a day where you've got time to prepare healthy snacks throughout the day, to avoid you going for the biscuits. And when we look and dive into these a little bit more, it allows us to make that behaviour change. So this is the service what we deliver in our coaching model with our clients, but there's nothing stopping even you using it or sharing it to think about how you can look at those 3 points in order to make behaviour change for yourselves today. So I do apologise, there's a bit of a lag on the laptop. It moves when it wants to move. So the 5 ways to wellbeing are shown here. So this framework is been developed, it's been proven that if we have some of these 5 ways to wellbeing incorporated into our daily lives and routines, it allows us to maintain that optimal wellbeing. So connect is looking at really that connection. So usually we may meet friends for coffee, we most probably see people at work, we might go for walks, go to activity groups where we can, you know, mix with friends and socialise, going out. Unfortunately, now that has been replaced with online technology, which is amazing, that we can connect like we are here today through a webinar. But just to consider that, you know, that connection point, particularly as now we're going into lockdown a bit more, there is such a thing as Zoom fatigue. Our brains naturally try and take in all the videos and it's not used to seeing that many people, so it can be quickly analysing. So if you are coming off these calls thinking, when you're meeting with your friends and that, feeling a little bit fatigued, it certainly is a thing, but it's a great way to connect. To keep in touch with our friends. But it was just to say there, you know, you can just pick up the phone as well if you are finding Zoom activities a little bit fatiguing on you. So that's that connect. Keep learning. So that doesn't necessarily mean doing a course. It can be learning a new activity, learning a new recipe, just something that is outside of what we normally do and we're learning whilst doing it, and it increases our self-esteem and confidence when we're learning something new. And then being active, which can be particularly difficult at the moment. If we're outside of the normal routine, you might find it really demotivating to do activity at home. You might like the pressure of going to a group, being with your peers to do that, and not really being able to have that opportunity. So I will be sharing with you a resource pack for stuff online that you will be able to access. But even being active, you know, even if it's just your 30-minute walk a day, getting up and about at home, doing a bit of gardening, all of that counts towards being active. And taking notice is just about really being present in the moment and taking notice, like a bit like we did today, maybe of how you're feeling, what's going on around you, particularly going on for my walks. Nature keeps going, all the trees are in bloom, you've seen it, all the leaves go really green recently and all the trees get really full. So it's just about taking notice of those things that are going on around us and being present, instead of having our head down and thinking about all the things on our to-do list. It's a really powerful thing to do to bring you back to the now. And then give. So giving to others, you know, even if that's a smile on your walks. I know that people locally in my street, we've been offering to get things on shopping lists for each other and helping out our elderly neighbours. We've been sharing flowers and seeds to make sure that our gardens. So just think about things that you can do to give to others in this time, even if it's just a text or a message to check in and see how somebody's doing. And ultimately, when we have an element of each of these 5 ways to well-being in our lives, it allows us to function well. So we feel good, and we've got like a little toolkit for when we're not feeling so good, maybe to have a little exploration to think about what things you're maybe not doing that you can bring in to make you feel well and to boost your well-being. And well-being is impacted by internal and external factors. So it could be normally in the world before COVID, you were managing to get all of these into your day and you felt much better and you had a better balance. So it's just about thinking about how we can incorporate these into our daily routine now. And our brains love, we're creatures of habit, of going back to old behaviours and routines that maybe aren't that good for us, particularly when we're going through such a massive change. So it's really important to check in on those external factors that we can't control, but check in to see what we can do to how we react to that situation, and how we can do things that make us feel like we've fulfilled and we've got a purpose. So I am going to be sharing another video now on the 5 ways to well-being. I'm just going to check, yeah, pop this on.
Did you know there are things we can do every day to improve our mental health and well-being? Connect. Connecting is about building and strengthening relationships with the people around you. We can do this by spending meaningful time with people each day, arranging a day out with friends, having lunch with someone you work with, or joining a sports team in your local community. By giving time to these relationships, we feel happier and more secure, giving us a better sense of purpose. Be active. Look for ways to be active every day. Find something you enjoy. It doesn't have to be a marathon, but something that suits your fitness and mobility. Cycling, gardening, walking, and dancing are all ways that we can get more active. Being active every day causes changes in our brain, which can positively affect our mood. Take notice. To take notice is to be present in the here and now. Pay attention to the world around you, nature, people, your thoughts and feelings. Becoming more aware of the present moment can help us enjoy the world around us and understand ourselves better. Keep learning. Keep learning is about learning new skills and information about topics that interest us. We can keep learning by trying a new recipe, signing up for a nighttime course, fixing that broken bike, or taking on a new responsibility in work. Learning can boost our confidence and self-esteem, help build a sense of purpose, and help us connect with others. Give. Giving is about small acts of kindness for other people. You could make someone a cup of tea, sign up for volunteering, or offer to help someone you know with a project. You could just ask a friend or someone you work with how they are, and really listen to the answer. Giving back to others can create positive feelings and help us feel more satisfied with life. Each of the 5 ways have been shown to make a positive difference in how we feel and live our life. By including these simple actions every day, we can improve our mental health and well-being.
Okay. I just want to double check. Is there any questions or anything that you want to ask now, Rachel, or is there any questions building up? Or
we haven't had any questions come through, Stevie, and we've had some really lovely comments there about LiveWell Dorset and about people who've accessed your service, so that's really nice.
no,
actually, the chat's been very quiet. I think people have been quite absorbed.
Oh no, that's great. I just wanted to check in to make sure. That's great. Oh, fab. It's great to hear about those stories. I'll definitely catch up with that in the chat. It's lovely to hear how it's made an impact on your life. So thank you for sharing. So with the annotation tool, I just thought, having reflected over those 5 ways to well-being, using the annotation tool again, it'd be great if you're willing to share what pledge you could make today to maybe to introduce one of those 5 ways into your routine. Obviously, it can feel like a lot, maybe if you're not doing the 5 at the moment, but just taking that step to do 1 is great. Or if it's something that you're already doing, that would be great. Yeah, walking every day. Oh wow, learning Spanish. That's great. I've got a couple of neighbours and that they're learning, one's learning German and the other one's learning French. Learning new techniques on Zoom, definitely. That's, I mean, in terms of like keep learning, I feel like I come to work every day and I'm learning something at the moment. Walk every day, restorative yoga, dancing with Oti. Ah, that looks good.
Stevie, there's quite a few in the chat, so we can share those as well. Yeah, we'll share those with you as well.
Yeah, send a postcard, wellbeing calls to others, gardening. I certainly love seeing the birds in the garden as well at the minute. It's great. Take cakes to family, yeah, catching up with old friends. I feel like we're doing a lot of that. We're like super connected, and I hope that's something that we can bring forward as we move out. Cycling in the forest, wonderful cycling, yeah. And yeah, let's have a look what we've got going on in the chat as well to share. Rowing machine every day, gardening, cooking with friends on Zoom. Oh, that sounds fun. All of them checking on non-tech people. Yeah, certainly. Writing a letter to my grandchildren each week. Oh, that's lovely. Oh, sorry. Oh, that's great. Thank you for liking the videos. I can't make Yorkshire puddings with toffee. Online shopping by using FaceTime, that's great. I mean, it's amazing that technology, we are lucky in what we're able to access now. We dance twice a day. Oh, I like that. Move the energy round. To collect family memories. Oh, that's great, because it's certainly a time where we can have this time, additional time to do that, and being nostalgic and looking through that. So hopefully, you know, if you're doing one of these and you really like that, but there's some ideas here that inspire you to think, actually, I'm going to do a little bit of that. Please feel free to, you know, take note and think about some of those things that maybe you want to do a little bit more of if you're not doing them already. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. I'll save that screen and then we can send it out as well with the resource pack. So we'll move on. Oh. Okay, let's go. Sometimes I do like this about my laptop. It makes me think a little bit slower. Sometimes I think it does it intentionally. There we go. So, LiveWell Dorset resources and website use. So what I will be doing here is I'm just going to take you onto some tabs which I've saved, and we can enter all the links in the chat for you afterwards about some of the resources on the website that you can use. So here, I'm just going to stop share and I'm just going to share my website screen so you can see. Because I just thought it'd be great for you guys to see some of the things that we've got on our website. So we have here on our blog lots of articles, and like I was saying before, we have quite a few things coming up which are COVID related as well. So it might be for yourselves or those that you're working with that you might find really useful, but we've got some great stories here about people quitting smoking for COVID, rethinking your drink if you've got into a routine of maybe drinking a little bit more, helping you to help others through COVID, how to look after your well-being at home. So what you can do is you can just click on these blogs and go on through, and it's really great. They've got like step-to-step guides of things to think about. So it might be not all of them feel relevant to you, but you might pick up on a couple and think, oh, actually, that's something that I want to think about, and think about things that you want to change or do. We've also got, if you feel inspired by our 5 ways to wellbeing, we've got a challenge at the moment, and it doesn't matter when you sign up, but if you join us on the 5 ways challenge, it will start from that week, and you can click on this link here, and you can share what you're doing. It will give you ideas, check in on you to see how you're incorporating those 5 ways to wellbeing. So it's a great resource. So even if it's not for you, for others to get involved in. What is LiveWell Dorset? So I just wanted to point out here, it's a healthcare professionals page, but it might be useful to those of you who are working with people. You can actually do a contact my patient registration. If I click on this here, for people that you're with, so maybe those that aren't that great with technology, as long as you get their authorization, you can pop in their email, their mobile phone number, do what is your role. So there's lots of different roles on here to choose from. I'm clicking on that, but it's not wanting to play. But yeah, if you're like a volunteer, family, friend, we've got all those categories. So it doesn't have to be that you're in a healthcare professional role, where you're from, and then what was it in regards to. So if it was weight loss, or somebody was wanting to drink a little bit less, you can log this and submit it, and then we'll send that person a text to say how they can get in contact with us, and then it just gives them a prompt reminder whether they want to engage with us or not, to make a lifestyle change. So that's that one. And then here also we've got some great cooking tips and recipes on the blog as well. So yeah, if you want to feel inspired on, you know, to cook a little bit different, or how to get a bit more of your 5 a day in, that's some great content there. We have some tips as well for emotional well-being. So about having a healthy mindset, 5 free meditations as well. So if someone was wanting to look into going free meditation, and there's even some great resources that you can do here about reframing our language. So, you know, I can't do that, I'll never do that. Thinking about how we can change that, change our mindset through what we're talking about. So there's some really great resources on here which we can use for ourselves or with others. And then also in terms of training, we're still running all our training. So you can see the training workshops down here. If anyone is interested in these, we have made the modules live to deliver on virtual sessions like this. So please do get in contact with us if you have any training needs. So that's on here. I will be sending out all the links for you for these, so you'll be able to find them after today's session. And then this is a great tool as well. It's the Habit Hacker. So on this, you can select something that you're wanting to do. So maybe it's getting a little bit more active. And then you can click on these, see what your biggest challenges are. So maybe it's you're not feeling confident enough. And then it provides you with some hacks. So you can make a pledge to become more active, self-monitoring through a diary, know your body, know the facts and perspective. So you can click on these and it will give you some different, it might point you in the direction of an article or provide you with some apps which you can download as well. So that's our Habit Hacker, and it's completely personalised. So, you know, you can swap these up if you feel different. It's, you know, I'm always too tired, and these will like make a plan, about goal setting as well. So on this page here about smarter goals, could be about, you know, how you can be smart in setting a goal, and talk you through those processes. So that's all available on our website. There's quite a lot on here. I'm just going to double check. Yeah, so I think I've covered those. Oh. I'm just going to share again. Oh, that's great. People have joined 5 ways. That's so positive. It's great to see that you're using it. So, on here, so I'm just going to go back to this. So I'm not sure if anyone's heard of our Dorset digital apps, but it's an app finder. So what it does is it looks at all the apps that are available on Apple stores or Google Play apps, and this amazing technical machine gets all the data of those apps and checks it all, and it gives it a rating on what its data protection's like, whether it's been clinically approved. So it allows you to make decisions about what you're downloading onto your phone, whether that's something that you want to do. And what's great about it is, as you can see here at the bottom, it's got it for different items, so you can really drill down your search for what you're looking for an app. And what's great about an app is if you've got something and you're wanting to check in on yourself, there's a SAM app that we talk about in our training, which allows you to log a diary. It has meditations, check-ins to see how you're feeling on each day, so you can track to see how you're feeling. But on this one, it's really down to you or the people who you're working with to explore apps that might fit in better with them, and they can find something that's really personal to them that they want to do. So I will be sending a link to that, so you can access that. And yeah, if you haven't heard about it, yeah, you'll get the link, but if you have, yeah, it's really great way to find out resources online so we can self-serve and help ourselves to manage our well-being. So, managing stress, building resilience. So with the 5 ways challenge that we've spoken about today, it will certainly begin to put the building blocks in place to manage our stress levels and have a toolkit where we can build resilience. We do offer a course on managing stress and building resilience, and I just wanted to briefly touch on that today. So certainly with having the 5 ways built in, it will support it. But also with managing stress, it's about recognising what we can and can't control, what we can let go of, and ultimately what we can do ourselves. And the 5 ways framework certainly focuses us on, you know, what we can take control of in our own lives in order to manage our stresses. Certainly, if you begin to build in the 5 ways, and you're finding that really great, Managing Stress and Building Resilience course builds on that and helps us understand the signs and symptoms of stress, how that can manifest, and recognising maybe when stress is coming in, but we might not be fully alert or aware of that yet. So recognising those signs and symptoms. So if that has today you thought, oh, certainly it's something that I would like to learn a little bit more about, do let us know. But with 5 ways, definitely having that in can allow you to, you know, recognise that you can't stop the waves, but you can learn how to surf with using those 5 ways to well-being to, you know, get through life's ups and downs. So what's next? It's all coming up like this. So using LiveWell Dorset resources. So I've shared those with you. I will make sure these all go into the chat as well, so you can access them. That Airtable one, that was the Active Dorset, so they've got all the resources that are available online in one spot, so you can click in and you can plan when you can access those resources, and it's a mixture of stuff for adults and children as well. We do have the virtual 60-minute session on managing stress and building resilience, which I've just explained. But also, hot off the press, just to let you know, we have some more training going on to our Eventbrite. So we do have the full course on 5 ways to wellbeing being ran on there. And we also have talking about health, so how we can initiate conversations with people that we're supporting. And we've made that a specific COVID-19 module for facilitating those discussions around people who may be anxious and having some scenarios with breakout rooms in those situations. They aren't live on there yet, however, they will be going live. I'm planning training at the moment, so I know there's some sessions potentially getting booked in for next week, right up until the beginning of June. So if you do keep an eye out on that link over the next few days, and if there are any training sessions that you want to get involved in, you can sign up through the Eventbrite link. But if you do have any issues, of course you can contact me direct and we can look to support you with that. If you do want any individual training, we can obviously facilitate that, or somebody to come along to any webinar meetings that you're hosting as well, we can do that as well. So I just wanted to open it up to see if anyone had any questions.
Stevie, I think that there's been one question about the training sessions look like they're booked up for May. So I don't know, the courses you're just referring to, are they new ones that are going onto your website? So there should be some more dates and courses available.
Yeah, they will be. So that's, yeah, they're currently all sold out, but if you keep checking over the next few days, they will be going live on Eventbrite. We're going to be releasing loads more dates on there.
And then the only other one is the training suitable or available for under 18s?
It's available to members of the public through Eventbrite, so I don't think it will have any restrictions on it because it's out there. I can double check that.
If you could maybe get back to us, but rather than open up any more questions, if you've got questions, could you, because I'm quite aware we've still got stuff to go through, so if you've got any questions for Stevie, then please put them in the chat. The courses are free, aren't they, Stevie? They're funded.
All free, yeah.
And then what we'll do is put these questions to Stevie after today and make sure that they're available on the DCA website, along with all the links that she's provided. But I mean, I'd like to thank Stevie because we're in week 7 of lockdown, and the only reason I know we're in week 7 is this is the 7th webinar that we've done. Otherwise, time has just gone. Every day seems the same, and that for people's mental health and well-being is a thing in itself. So I just wanted to say thank you very much to Stevie. I think there's been some useful tips and help for all of us to keep going through these difficult times, but more importantly, or as importantly, to pass on the resources and the help that's available through LiveWell to staff, volunteers, and our beneficiaries. And particularly for those people who have had to furlough staff, maybe that taking part in the training, something that they can do positively, not just for their organisation when they hopefully return to it, but also for their own health and well-being. So thank you. And then lastly,
thanks everyone for listening.
You mentioned acts of kindness. This is something that DCA has been trying to share through its e-bulletin and social media pages, just because sharing those acts of kindness makes us all feel good, telling other people about what we're doing that's good, but also hearing those good news stories. So if you are aware of any acts of kindness, or you as an organisation are performing acts of kindness, which is just natural because we're in the voluntary and community sector, then please do share them with us and we can help share them more widely. So thank you very much. Thank you for everyone. I hope you've all found something for yourself that's been useful, but also that you can pass on. I am going to quickly move on now to welcome Elizabeth Hodgson from Groundwork UK. I hope I've got that right, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
And I'm going to share my screen just to, as Elizabeth has got some information about some funding that is available. So I'm going to hand over to you, Elizabeth. Just give me a nod when you want me to move on with the slide.
Right, well, I'm Elizabeth and I'm from Groundwork UK, and I'm the local community enabler for the Dorset region. And my job is to help you through funding applications for the funding streams that Groundwork UK are currently administering in your region. So the most important one that we're doing at the moment is the ESFA grants, and that's specifically for the Dorset region. And we need applications in sort of as soon as possible, really, for this funding stream. And this is to support people that are out of the workplace. So those that are unemployed and furthest away from the labour market. It's a really lovely fund, but it's quite a complex application, so it does need extra support, I think, getting applications in. So the projects can be anything from £5,000 to £20,000, and we are actually looking for the smaller projects at the moment, so the 5,000 end of the funding stream, because we've had a few of the larger ones, but yeah, we haven't had so many of the smaller grants. So I'm sort of really encouraging applications from smaller organisations to put in a bid. Hold on. So wanting to encourage people who work with people that are unemployed or economically inactive, provide activities to get people closer to the labour market, and to encourage those over 16 and engage with those that are allowed to work in the UK workplace. And you will need to document that those are the people you're working with. We're looking for applications from third sector organisations, small businesses, and small organisations that are that have less than 49 members of staff, or a turnover of less than 10 million euros, which is about £8 million. So one of the ideas that I've had, because Dorset, we're looking to support people in rural communities, is maybe looking at if anyone's got connections with farms or farmers, and try and get and some projects put together that would support getting people trained up to go to work in, you know, the fruit picking industry, because I know that this is a labour market that needs training to be able to get people working. So if anyone's got connections there, I would be really keen to find those connections. We're specifically looking at supporting people over the age of 50 with disabilities, ethnic minorities and women, because they've been identified as the groups of people that are furthest away from the labour market. And for Dorset, it's specifically looking at rural areas and isolated pockets of urban areas, especially around Poole and Bournemouth. But it's also been identified that Weymouth has also got an area of sort of isolated urban pockets. Neat young people we're looking to support as well. And those with, well, no, that's all right. I'm finding this quite hard, so please bear with me. So yeah, we're looking to support people that are
Sorry, now I'm not helping you at all.
Yeah, no, low social mobility. So that's the sort of key areas. I mean, really, if you think that you've got a project that fulfills the key areas of this funding, I need to speak to you, and please get in touch, because that's the most important thing about why I'm here today, is to kind of like say this funding's here, please come and get in touch with me, and then we can talk through an application. You need to have a really nice project as well, and we've had quite a few that have come in already. Personal favourites being Cobb building, that came in from just outside Weymouth, a project there where they got, I think they got 12 to 15 people that fitted the criteria, and they helped them through. They taught them how to build with Cobb. They built their own Cobb buildings on site, and now at least 2 of them I know have gone in to set up their own businesses now. And these were people that are out of work and education. They had no sort of forward ideas that they wanted to do this kind of work, and now they've got their own business doing it. And this is the kind of project that Groundwork and the funding want to see supported. At the moment, we're specifically looking at maybe projects that will have some kind of remote learning within them. And I think for a rural region like Dorset, if we can find those projects now, they will have long-term benefits in the future, because obviously rural isolation is something that is a big problem, especially in Dorset, and transportation links and internet are problems in rural regions. So if we can try and find projects now that kind of address that it could have, you know, a good legacy for the future and getting people back into the employment sector. And obviously with COVID-19 and everything that's gone on around that, there's going to be a lot more people out of employment. So, you know, let's take advantage of this funding whilst it's here. Now, at the moment, we're in the last bit of this funding, and so applications now will be the last ones that will have the full 12 months to actually take place. So our application now would be seen to start in August, and all projects need to complete by July 2021. So this is the last round that will be able to have the full 12 months. You don't have to have 12 months, but if you did want to put in a bid for one of the top awards, then you would want to be able to run it for 12 months if that was what your project was doing. There is a minimum spend per person, and that's about £1,000. So if you're applying for a £5,000 project, you'd be expected to support at least 5 people within that project. I mean, quite a lot of the projects that have already been funded actually have a lower amount of money per lower spend per person. So, you know, that's the maximum that they want to see. So, you know, so you need to have a project that will support plenty of people. So that's about it for the ESFA funding. The dates are all on there. Applications need to be in by the 25th. So I think if you've got a project, or you've got an idea, or you even just are interested in the funding, just get in touch with me as soon as you can, so that we can start talking about the project that you might want to apply for. As I say, the funding bid application is quite a complicated one, and you will need to have done some kind of consultation. But me and our team in London are here to help. So don't be put off when you look at the application form and think it's too much. We want this funding to get out there and get to the right people. So I would definitely say, if you've got a thought that you might be interested, or you know another organisation that might be interested, just let them get in touch, and let's get the dialogue happening, so that we don't lose this funding, which, you know, if we don't get the applications in, will be lost. So that's the ESFA funding, and my contact details are there, and the website for having a look at further information. Then we've also got Bags of Help, which is still open for applications as normal. The funding for that is up to £2,000, and that's for small community projects. And in Dorset, you've got 7 regions that you can apply in, which is Dorchester, Weymouth, Blandford, Poole, Bournemouth, Ferndown and Shaftesbury. And if you're an organisation that works across more than just one of those regions, you can apply in every region you work in. Poole and Bournemouth are quite high subscribed, so if you work in one of the other regions, I would put a bid in there first, because places like Shaftesbury never really have a huge amount of applications, or Blandford. So if you work outside Poole and Bournemouth, maybe apply in another region that's not so high in application numbers. Bags of Help, although it's open for applications at the moment, we won't be actually looking at the next round to be put into an in-store vote until the October, November, December round. So you're looking at quite a way in the future if you do put a bid in there. And I think in some regions still we have the COVID-19 Bags of Help, which is open and giving out grants at the moment. I know Poole and Bournemouth closed because we had loads of applications in there, but I know Blandford is still quite low on applications. So if you've got a project that's specifically supporting your community through the COVID-19, have a look, check that the application process is still open in the region that you're looking in, and then put a bid in. And I would do it very quickly if it is still open, because I know that's likely to close if it hasn't already in the next day or so. And like I say, Poole and Bournemouth already closed. But we've got causes for carriers that we are still administering, and that is for projects up to £500, so long as you live within a certain radius of a one-stop shop. But that one is on hold at the moment, but it will reopen, so keep an eye on that. And I would also suggest, if you're interested in any of the funding that we are looking after at the moment, go onto the Groundwork website and sign up to our newsletter, because we are starting to administer more funding streams. And obviously when things reopen or change, that's the first place you'll find the information. So if you're on signed up to our newsletter, then you'll be the first people to know about what's happening. We are also administering the Comic Relief community funds for grassroots organisations, and this is for funding up to £4,000 for organisations with an income of less than £250,000. This funding has 4 key streams, which is supporting children to thrive and survive, which is supporting children under 5 to reach their potential. Support for fighting gender injustice, improving equality and those affected by domestic violence and abuse due to gender. A safe place to be, which is supporting people that are homeless or forced migration. Mental health matters, and that's supporting organisations that have projects that work with mental health issues in the community. So, any organisation that fits the criteria can apply to that. That's a fairly simple application, but again, we're here to support. So if you've looked through the application process and you need help, just ask. There's also, within the Comic Relief funding, a smaller £500 grant, which is to help, it's a capacity building grant, which is to help develop projects for delivery. So if you've got an idea and your organisation's not quite set up for it, then you can apply for that, get yourself in the place to then apply for the main grant. So they're the funding streams that we're currently looking after in the Dorset region. Like I say, I'm the local community enabler, so I'm sort of like your first stop. I can do everything from helping you build your project to also reading through your application before you submit it, passing your details on to our central grants team if there's something a bit more complicated that they need to support with. Most of our grants as well, if you are rejected, we are here to work with you and help with a reapplication. So even if you go through the whole process, it comes back that you're not supported, come back to myself and we can help you, get a better application or answer the problem issues as to why you didn't get through the first time. So it's not always done, it's not always just finished.
Elizabeth, thank you for that. Will you be providing links for us so that we can put them onto the webinar page for all of the funds that you spoke about? That would be fantastic.
Yeah, they're all on the presentations that I'm going to give to Anita, so they're all there.
Thank you.
I would say really the best thing to do initially is to email me. So if anyone's got any ideas about a project that they want to see funded by any of these, the first stop really is to email me, and then I can work with them to take it further. Because I think that direct contact actually helps build a really strong application rather than someone going to the application pages and just filling it out without that dialogue.
Great, thanks Elizabeth. I think we'll put it in the e-bulletin as well, which will be going out later this week. And I think it's really encouraging that there are so many funds that are available, not just for now for COVID-19, but also for when we think about coming out of this. So that might take away some of people's stress and anxiety about what the future holds. I'm going to pass over to Paula, who's just going to bring us back to wellbeing for volunteers and staff. So thank you, Paula, and thank you, Elizabeth, for joining us today.
That's quite all right.
Lovely, thank you. So really, I just wanted to bring together really the things that we've been looking at today. So as Stevie was talking about earlier, we're all in a process of transition as individuals as we move from the crisis phase of COVID-19 into what we hope will be a fairly soon imminent recovery stage from COVID-19. And this is quite a nice little diagram, I think, which shows responses that we go from that initial survival response where we're glued to social media, we're constantly trying to find out what news is, we're absorbing lots of information, and we can also feel incredibly lethargic and maybe unproductive because all of our brain is being used up with that immediate overload of information. Then we begin to accept the situation that we're in, and hopefully from all of it we begin to grow and develop as we move through the learning cycle. So how does this fit in with those of you that are supporting others? So we can learn a lot from how we respond to stress ourselves and how we feel ourselves. And from what we know about our own feelings, it does help us understand others, but nothing beats talking to people. The best way to find out how somebody feels is to ask them. And we recognize that this is an incredibly stressful time and people are probably feeling some of these things already. As Stevie nicely put it, learning to surf rather than be swamped by the water of stress is probably a good way of seeing it. And recognizing that actually what you're feeling is stress. Now, a certain amount of stress can be quite healthy. It motivates us. Too much stress and it's demotivating and it can be overwhelming. So when we're looking at our staff team, as we move from crisis to recovery, we have to see that that in itself is also a stress. It's another transition. The last poll that I saw, 7 people in 10 were worried about coming out of lockdown. So rather than excited at the idea of coming out of lockdown, people have anxiety about it. We don't know what the world's going to be like when we hit that phase. We're worried that the virus will still be around. There are lots of things that can still be causing us stress. So if you are an employer or you support volunteers or you're even just part of a team, it's really useful to know that there is lots of support out there to help you to help others. So LiveWell Dorset we heard about today and their fantastic training program, but also the resources that are on their website. Make sure that that is available to your colleagues. If you're part of a team, share it with your team. If you manage volunteers or you manage staff or you're a trustee and you manage a whole organisation, make sure that that information is widely accessible. So it can be shared via email, but we know that that's transient. Is there some way that we can have it so that it's always readily available on a notice board? Or can we even include it in our footer so that we share it with others, the people that we care for? ACAS have a fantastic site with lots of employment support, and all of it is still relevant to volunteers as well as it is to staff, and their stuff around mental health is absolutely brilliant. Mindful Employer, really good website, can't recommend it enough. Some great resources about supporting people returning after mental health difficulties, but also supporting people currently in the workplace. And then some great stuff from HSE, so from the Health and Safety Executive, on competencies and actually how to develop your skills as an employer to be able to support people with their mental health. So the model that Stevie mentioned earlier, what's commonly known as the COM-B model, is kind of the approach that I've taken when looking at how do we support our staff and volunteers to make that transition from crisis to recovery. So we're going to use that capability, motivation, opportunity model to kind of highlight what we can do when supporting people as we move into this next phase. So capability is really important. That can-do attitude that I think exemplifies our sector more than any others. We're problem solvers, we're doers. We get out there and we do it. But one of the frightening things is when we don't think we've got the capability to be able to do the things that are being asked of us. If you're currently working from home, mothballed, furloughed, or your staff team are, then they can feel really out of touch and really out of sync with what's happening. And so the idea of returning to work or returning to business as usual can feel really, really frightening. So we have to look first and foremost to reassure the skills that they had before COVID-19 are still going to be of value. They're the core skills. They're the purpose, the mem and arts. They're the core reason why we do what we do. And they're still going to be necessary. But there may be some gaps, but they can do it. Look at how we've all adapted to this new digital world, and they'll be able to do it too, with the right support and training. And that's why things like the grants that were being talked about by Elizabeth are so important. It isn't just about equipping our population, our community, to have the right skills to be able to cope with what the new normal is going to be. It's all about us recognising as well about our staff teams and our volunteers and making sure that they've got the skills that they need, and supporting them to feel like they have the skills that they need as well, that they're not coming back and going to be lost. So when we talk about opportunities, that's really the opportunities to be able to offer things like training. So the LiveWell courses, really, really vital. If you've got furloughed staff, you can be sharing those courses with them right now, and that's something they can be doing to build their resilience for returning to work. You can also be talking to LiveWell Dorset about actually putting on courses in your workplace. Make it a priority, make it part of your recovery plan to help your staff to be more resilient to stress, because actually this is going to be a difficult transition that all organisations are going to go through. But it's also about the individual. They're going to be childcare concerns, transport concerns, and these aren't going to necessarily be equal across the entire workforce. Some people are going to be hit harder by some of the restrictions that are in place. So we have to make sure that all the opportunities to engage in training or to come back to work or to be part of a workforce or to be able to face-to-face socialise with safe distancing at work, that those are equal opportunities that everybody has got, and that we're putting things in place where we need to make sure that those opportunities are equal. That's done through your recovery plan. And then we've got the coming back to work altogether. I saw quite an interesting article that was written about the government or government advisors were looking at reducing the amount of pay through the furlough scheme as a way to motivate people to go back to work. I think that's a little bit sad that they think by removing wages will be the way to motivate people back. We can motivate people back to work by making work somewhere that people want to be. We talk about the new normal, but we actually have the opportunity to really create a new normal. We can create a workforce that considers more work-life balance, that allows people to work home, that has greater flexibility. We used to take for granted things like lunch breaks, and people would often sit in isolation at their desks, eating while working. Well, why can't the new normal be that actually we look at those as socialisation breaks? whether that's catching up with each other at work through Facebook groups or a WhatsApp group, or whether actually it's face-to-face with social distancing in a workforce, people stopping and being able to talk to each other. We should relish it now. We've been without it for a long time, and we should make those opportunities. And we do have the opportunity to create a new workplace culture, particularly within our sector. So think about phasing the return, help people to see the benefits of coming back to work, and they will be motivated to return to you. So I've had some other slides, but I just wanted to run through this. So I'm just going to stop share for a second, just to put up the final slide. So just bear with me while I do that. Skip to the end. Oh. Okay, try that again. Technology is great when it does what you want it to do. Right, okay, try that one again. So just this final slide, really, when we talk about motivation, we get very hooked up on things like money and benefits and rewards. And actually the greatest motivator of all is being included. And we know that people having a sense of autonomy, so actually having some self-control and being involved in things, having a purpose, so feeling part of that drive and the ambition of a charity or whatever your community group is, feeling like their contribution really means something, makes a big difference to people's motivation, and having the skills. As part of your recovery plan, make sure that you've thought about the new skills that your staff team need, and if need be, look to funding. There is no reason why any fund that is currently funding COVID-19 will not also support part of your recovery plan from COVID-19. If you're going to need new IT equipment, if you're going to need new skills, if you're going to need to buy in training in order for your staff to be able to cope with the next 12 months of increased social distancing and the new normal, then now is the time to apply for that funding. And if you're finding it difficult to get to understand application forms or to know where to start, remember we are here. Use our helpline, contact us via our info app, use the inquiry on our website, make use of us, come back to us and get help from us, because we are here to support you. So recovery planning is about recovering you for your business, but also it's about supporting people back to the new normal. Make good use of your recovery plan, make sure that you've included wellbeing, and do make sure that you make good use of the resources that you've heard about today, both the grant funding and the LiveWell Dorset resources. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to just pass over to Julie just to see if any questions have come through that we might need to answer.
No, you've covered everything, Paula.
Oh, brilliant. Absolutely everything. Great. That's good to know.
All of it.
Yeah. See you next year. So thank you for staying with us. It's been a slightly longer session than normal today. We tried to fit in that little bit of extra funding information. So thank you so much for that, Elizabeth. And we look forward to seeing you next week. My final word that I'm going to say is on our survey, just in case any of you haven't completed it. Thanks, Elisa. Any of you haven't completed it, we've extended it to the 14th of May. It takes 10 minutes to do. It's really, really quick. We've designed it that way, but it gives us a snapshot of where the sector is right now, and we're using it to influence how councils and how the health service look at the voluntary sector in the future. We're highlighting to them at the moment, our survey is showing about 60% of those who've responded are at risk of closure within a year without additional support. We need to get that message out there. It strengthens infrastructure organisations like ourselves, but it also strengthens where those grant funds go in the future. And of course, we'll be circulating it nationally as well to make sure that we get the wider picture out. So please, if you haven't had a chance to do that, and you'll find that on our website, it's posted all over, and we'll make sure that the link is also with today's webinar. Thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to seeing you at our next Wednesday's webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.